Mr. President, I rise today briefly to speak on behalf of Senate Resolution 494, which is a sense of the Senate resolution that I introduced yesterday, calling upon the international community to fulfill previous pledges to provide reconstruction assistance to Iraq. I'm joined in introducing this resolution by my colleague, Senator Corker from the great state of Tennessee, and I'm honored to have his support. Our message is very simple. It is long past time for other nations, especially Iraq's neighbors, to carry through on past promises and deliver the type of assistance that can help stabilize Iraq and allow for an orderly redeployment of U.S. combat troops from Iraq. Over the course of the next 2 weeks, the Senate will once again return to the Iraq War and the debate over future U.S. military presence in that country. It is no secret that there's a sharp divide in the Congress over the next steps in Iraq. We have some fundamental differences, and it is essential that we debate these differences in an open manner. However, there is some common ground that all of us can find when it comes to Iraq. I think we can agree that America has already sacrificed too many of our finest and bravest young men and women in this conflict. We recently marked the grim toll of 4,000 Americans killed in combat there, including 183 natives of my home state of Pennsylvania. But the United States is also bearing the majority of the burden when it comes to financial assistance to the Iraqi government for reconstruction activities. We bear this burden even though other nations and multilateral organizations, including the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, have pledged but failed to implement significant sums towards Iraq's reconstruction. The United States bears this burden even as we spend millions of dollars every day on our military presence in Iraq. That is not right, and it cannot continue. Our resolution calls upon other nations to carry through on previous pledges of reconstruction assistance to the Iraqi people that have been largely ignored. The resolution has been inspired by two recent reports, a December 2007 report from the General Accountability Office, we know as the GAO, and a January 2008 report from the Inspector General for Iraqi Reconstruction. The two reports document the following facts. Just two, but they're alarming and disturbing. The United States has already spent roughly $29 billion on reconstruction assistance to Iraq, with another $16.5 billion in the pipeline having been authorized by Congress. That's fact number one. $29 billion spent, $16.5 billion on the way. As of last October, international donors had pledged a combined total of approximately $16 billion to support Iraq's reconstruction, but only $7 billion of the 16 has been actually dispersed to the Iraqi governmental entities. This is a less than 50% return when it comes to carrying out their previous pledges, many of which date back to the year 2003. Now, there are some plausible explanations for why reconstruction funding has not flowed as quickly as we would like. Certainly, corruption in the Iraqi government remains a serious problem. The hazardous conditions in many parts of Iraq have impeded reconstruction projects. But these same constraints apply to the U.S. government and our reconstruction funding. There is no reason why the United States has spent more than 4 times what the rest of the world combined has spent when it comes to reconstruction assistance to the Iraqi government. I don't need to remind anyone in this chamber or anyone in the country of our economic challenges here at home that we face. The war in Iraq is exacting, a significant toll on our nation's treasury. And so the United States cannot afford to continue to subsidize reconstruction assistance to Iraq while other nations remain on the sidelines. But the lack of participation by other international donors, especially Iraq's neighbors, incurs diplomatic and political costs as well. When the United States is seen as the principal source of reconstruction funding in Iraq, And when those reconstruction activities falter, it is America that is unfairly blamed in the eyes of the Iraqi people. 5 years after we invaded Iraq, much of the nation continues to experience power shortages and rolling blackouts. And the Iraqi people view this state of affairs as America's responsibility. That is why the Iraq Study Group, more than a year ago now, recommended multilateral support for Iraqi reconstruction, including, quote, greater involvement by and with international partners who should do more than just contribute money. They should actively participate in the design and construction of projects, unquote. So said the Iraq Study Group more than a year ago. Mr. President, Madam President, it is all too rare for a Democrat and a Republican to find some shared ground today on the issue of Iraq. The fact that two members of the Senate, in this case, both members of the Foreign Relations Committee from different parties, have found common cause on one aspect of our presence there should tell you something. There is no reason why the United States, already having borne a massive cost in terms of military resources and expended in precious lives of our bravest men and women lost, there's no reason why the United States should continue to be on the hook for the majority of reconstruction funding in Iraq. Reconstruction funding for Iraq is important, and it is time that Iraq's neighbors, major international organizations, and other nations step up to the plate. Madam President, I yield the floor.